The Bugatti Chiron pulled up to the church entrance with a whisper-quiet purr that belied its $9 million price tag, its custom midnight blue finish catching the afternoon sun like liquid sapphire. Wedding guests who had been mingling on the steps fell silent mid-conversation, smartphones rising in unison to capture the unexpected arrival. Liam Crawford's champagne flute froze halfway to his lips as he watched from the church's side entrance, the blood draining from his face. This wasn't part of his carefully orchestrated plan. When the chauffeur opened the car door, a slender leg appeared first, designer heel, flawless skin, followed by a woman whose elegance made the bride's couture gown suddenly seem ordinary. Her confident smile revealed not a hint of the desperate, tearful mess Liam had abandoned 5 years ago when a better opportunity had presented itself. "Who is that?" hissed Vanessa, his soon-to-be bride, daughter of the country's largest banking fortune. Before Liam could answer, 3 boys emerged from the car behind the woman. Handsome, well-mannered children around 8 years old, dressed in perfectly tailored suits, their features hauntingly familiar. "That's Anna," Liam finally managed, his voice barely audible. "My ex." The woman he'd invited as a trophy of his success, to sit in the back pew and witness how far he'd risen, was now gliding toward them like she owned the church itself, the triplets forming a protective formation around her. "Hello, Liam," Anna said, her voice carrying just enough for the nearest guest to hear. "I believe you invited me to witness your special day." Her eyes, once soft with love, now held the cool assessment of someone calculating value and finding it wanting. How could I possibly refuse such a thoughtful invitation? As she extended her hand to Vanessa, the sleeve of her jacket slipped just enough to reveal the logo of Phoenix Enterprises on her diamond bracelet, the multi-billion-dollar tech empire whose mysterious founder had revolutionized sustainable energy across 3 continents. Liam's mind raced through the implications. The car, the boys, the unmistakable aura of wealth and power. As Anna's smile deepened with the satisfaction of someone who had waited years for precisely this moment. "We have so much to catch up on," she said, her gaze moving deliberately to the identical faces of the boys beside her. "I'm sure your guests would love to hear the story of how we first met and why we parted." The wedding planner's headset crackled with panic as the bride's father emerged from the church, his banker's eyes widening with recognition, not of Anna as Liam's ex, but of something far more significant. Who are these mysterious boys, and what devastating truth has Anna returned to reveal? What did Liam do that deserves such calculated revenge? If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button to see more interesting story like this. 5 years earlier, Anna Matthews had stood in the rain outside their apartment building, watching as Liam loaded the last of his belongings into his car. The pregnancy test hidden in her pocket felt impossibly heavy, its 3 parallel lines a rare result she hadn't yet found the courage to share. "You could at least wait until the storm passes," she'd said, her arms wrapped protectively around her still flat stomach. Liam had barely glanced at her. Vanessa's father doesn't like to be kept waiting. "The internship starts Monday." His voice had held the practiced detachment he'd been perfecting for weeks, ever since meeting the banker's daughter at a charity gala Anna couldn't afford to attend. "So that's it? 5 years together means nothing." Rain had disguised her tears, a final dignity preserved. "We want different things, Anna." Liam had straightened his newly purchased tie, a gift from Vanessa. "I'm meant for more than struggling paycheck to paycheck while you chase pipe dreams about sustainable technology." The memory of his departing taillights still burned in Anna's mind as she now stood in the church vestibule, watching Liam's carefully constructed world begin to fracture. The boys, Elliot, Ethan, and Evan, remained close beside her, their curious eyes taking in the opulent surroundings with the analytical assessment they'd inherited from her. "Ms. Phoenix," the bride's father approached, extending his hand with a reverence reserved for visiting dignitaries. "I had no idea you would be attending. What an unexpected honor." Vanessa's eyes widened. "Phoenix? As in Phoenix Enterprises? Daddy, you know her?" "Everyone in global finance knows Alexandra Phoenix," he replied, using the name Anna had adopted when recreating herself. "Though I wasn't aware you and Liam were acquainted." Liam's face had gone from pale to ashen. The ambitious intern who had climbed the corporate ladder at Hammond Banking International by cultivating his relationship with the owner's daughter, was suddenly connecting impossible dots. Anna and I dated in college, he managed, attempting to reclaim control of the situation. Ancient history. I had no idea she'd become successful. One of the boys, Ethan, with the small scar above his right eyebrow from a childhood fall, stepped forward. Mother founded Phoenix Enterprises when we were babies. She named it after us, rising from the ashes of difficult circumstances. The pointed comment wasn't lost on Liam, whose gaze now fixed on the boys with dawning horror. The triplets, around 8 years old. His hasty departure 5 years ago. The familiar set of their jaws, the distinctive hazel eyes that mirrored his own. Perhaps we should continue with the ceremony. The wedding planner interjected desperately. Guests are being seated. Of course, Anna smiled graciously. I wouldn't want to disrupt Liam's special day. The boys and I will find seats in the back, as I'm sure was intended when Liam so thoughtfully insisted I attend. As Anna guided the triplets toward the church, Vanessa grabbed Liam's arm with manicured nails that dug into his skin. Who is she really? And why do those children look like you? I don't know what you're talking about, Liam hissed, though the resemblance was undeniable to anyone with eyes. She's nobody, just an ex trying to embarrass me with some ridiculous power play. But Vanessa Hammond hadn't grown up in her father's world of high finance without developing a keen sense for deception. Fix this, she whispered, or the prenup becomes irrelevant. Inside the church, Anna settled into a pew with practiced poise, the boys arranging themselves beside her with the discipline she'd instilled in them from an early age. Around them, wedding guests whispered behind programs and exchanged curious glances. Is that going according to your plan? A deep voice murmured as someone slid into the seat beside her. Anna turned to find Marcus DeVoe, her mentor, business partner, and the man who had found her at her lowest moment 5 years earlier, watching her with a mixture of concern and amusement. I told you to wait in the car, she whispered. And miss the show? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Not a chance. Besides, the boys might need support. Marcus was right, as usual. While Anna had prepared herself for this confrontation for years, the triplets were experiencing the surreal reality of sitting in a church watching the father who didn't know they existed prepare to marry another woman. Elliot, the most sensitive of the three, leaned against her arm. He looks like us, he whispered. Only on the outside, Anna replied softly, squeezing his hand. You three got your hearts and minds from different stock. The truth was more complicated, of course. In the weeks after Liam's departure, Anna had discovered not only her rare triplet pregnancy, but also that the sustainable energy storage solution she'd been developing in their apartment had attracted significant attention. Marcus DeVoe, billionaire investor and technology pioneer, had tracked her down after reading her research paper. I want to fund your project, he'd said simply, standing in the doorway of the dingy apartment Liam had abandoned. And I want to help with those, he'd added, nodding toward the ultrasound pictures on her counter. What had followed was a partnership that transformed both her professional trajectory and personal life. Marcus had become the triplets' godfather, her most trusted advisor, and the co-architect of Phoenix Enterprises, now valued at over $30 billion and changing the face of renewable energy worldwide. The wedding march began, drawing Anna back to the present as Vanessa appeared at the church entrance in a gown that had likely cost more than most people's homes. The bride's expression was a masterpiece of conflicted emotions, determined to proceed with her society wedding while clearly rattled by Anna's presence. Liam stood at the altar, his practiced smile now brittle around the edges as his gaze repeatedly drifted to Anna and the boys rather than his approaching bride. The carefully constructed narrative of his life, the ambitious young executive who had earned his place in high society through talent and charm, was unraveling with each step Vanessa took down the aisle. Anna felt no triumph in his obvious distress, only a quiet certainty that some truths couldn't remain buried forever. She hadn't come for revenge, despite what Liam might believe. She had come because her sons deserved to know their origins, and because the man who had once discarded her needed to understand exactly what he had walked away from. As the ceremony began, Anna placed a protective arm around Ethan and Evan while Elliot leaned against her other side. The boys who had never known their biological father watched him with unreadable expressions, a combination of curiosity and the careful assessment Anna had taught them to apply to any new business prospect. Because that's what this was in the end. Not a vindictive disruption of a wedding, but a business proposition about to be presented. One that would give Liam Crawford the opportunity to make the most important decision of his life. Far more consequential than the marriage vows he was about to exchange. If anyone knows any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words echoed through the cathedral, followed by the customary pause that was usually nothing more than a ceremonial formality. Today, however, the silence stretched uncomfortably as hundreds of heads swiveled toward Anna and the three boys beside her. She remained perfectly still, her expression serene despite the obvious tension. This was not her moment to speak. Not yet. Liam visibly exhaled when the minister continued, though his relief was short-lived. As the ceremony proceeded, Evan, the most impulsive of the triplets, tugged at Anna's sleeve. "Mother," he whispered, his voice carrying in the perfect acoustics of the cathedral. "Is that man really our biological father?" The question, innocent and clear, sliced through the minister's words like a knife. A collective gasp rippled through the congregation as Vanessa froze mid-vow, her bouquet trembling in her white-knuckled grip. "Biological father?" she repeated, turning to face Liam with eyes that had transformed from loving to lethal in an instant. "What is that child talking about?" Liam's mouth opened and closed without producing sound, his gaze darting between his fiancée and the three boys who were now the focus of every guest's attention. The resemblance, the same hazel eyes, the distinctive Crawford jawline, even the way Elliot tilted his head in confusion, was undeniable in the cathedral's unforgiving light. "I think," Anna said, rising gracefully, "that we should give the bride and groom a moment to discuss some apparently unexpected information." She nodded respectfully to the minister. "My apologies for the interruption." Harold Hammond was already moving toward his daughter, his banker's instincts for damage control overriding standard wedding protocol. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced with forced joviality, "we'll be taking a brief intermission. Please enjoy refreshments in the garden pavilion." As confused guests filed out, Vanessa turned on Liam with cold fury. "You have children? With her?" "I didn't know," Liam insisted, his perfect Windsor not suddenly feeling like a noose. "Anna and I broke up 5 years ago. She never told me she was pregnant." "Because you disappeared to pursue a more advantageous connection," Anna interjected calmly, approaching the altar with the triplets following like perfectly synchronized satellites. "Your things were gone before the pregnancy test even dried." Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she assessed Anna with the calculating precision of someone raised in high-stakes negotiations. "So, this is revenge? Disrupting my wedding to punish him for leaving you?" "If revenge were my objective, I would have simply sent a gift with a card revealing paternity," Anna replied. "Much more efficient, far less costly in terms of time management." Marcus appeared at her side, placing a protective hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Perhaps the children should wait outside while the adults discuss matters." "No," Anna said firmly. "They have a right to be present for this conversation. It concerns their future as much as anyone's." Liam, finding his voice at last, stepped toward the boys. Are they really mine?" "Genetically speaking, yes," Anna confirmed. "Elliot, Ethan, and Evan share your DNA. But in all other respects, emotional, developmental, financial, they have been exclusively mine and, by extension, Marcus's as their godfather." The triplets studied Liam with unervingly adult expressions, assessing, cataloging, reaching individual conclusions about the man who had contributed to their existence. "You don't look like a visionary," Ethan observed with clinical detachment. "Mother said our biological father couldn't see the future clearly enough to recognize its value." Liam flinched at the assessment, delivered in vocabulary no ordinary 8-year-old would possess. "Enough," Harold Hammond interrupted, his voice tight with controlled panic. "This melodrama needs to move. Somewhere private. The guests will certainly be entertained by the gossip," Marcus finished dryly. "Though I suspect that's the least of your concerns right now, Hammond. Particularly given what Phoenix Enterprises plans to announce next week." Harold's attention snapped to Marcus. "What announcement?" "Perhaps we should indeed continue this conversation somewhere more private," Anna suggested, glancing meaningfully at the triplets. "The boys and I came with a specific purpose, and it wasn't to derail a wedding, despite how events have unfolded. Vanessa, who had been silently processing the situation with increasing coldness, suddenly removed her veil. There isn't going to be a wedding today. She fixed Liam with a stare that could have frozen flame. The prenup has a morality clause covering undisclosed children, Liam. You're aware of that, I assume. Vanessa, please, Liam began, desperation bleeding into his voice. I didn't know about them. This isn't my fault. Fault is irrelevant, she replied with the dispassionate tone of someone raised in corporate boardrooms. Results are what matter. And the result here is that you have 3 children you never mentioned, with a woman who apparently runs one of the most innovative companies in the sustainable energy sector. She turned to Anna with newfound respect. Phoenix Enterprises. I should have recognized you immediately. Anna inclined her head in acknowledgement. Most people expect Alexander Phoenix to be older. The advantage of youth is often being underestimated. The cathedral had emptied except for this small group at the altar, a tableau of power, wealth, and secrets now exposed to harsh light. Mother, Elliot said quietly, tugging at Anna's sleeve. May I ask him a question? Anna hesitated, then nodded. Go ahead. Elliot stepped forward, his small face serious as he addressed Liam directly. Did you ever think about our mother after you left? Did you wonder if she was okay? The simple question, delivered without accusation, seemed to strike Liam harder than any of the revelations preceding it. He sank onto the altar step, suddenly looking far older than his 33 years. He began, then stopped, visibly struggling. The truth. Elliot nodded solemnly. I made myself not think about her, Liam admitted, the confession clearly painful. Because when I did, I knew I'd made a mistake. But by then, I'd already committed to this new life. This new investment. An investment, Anna repeated softly, the words revealing more than Liam perhaps intended. That's exactly what brings us here today, ironically enough. She turned to Harold Hammond. Phoenix Enterprises is launching a revolutionary energy storage solution next week that will make traditional power grids obsolete within 5 years. Financial institutions heavily invested in fossil fuels will face catastrophic losses. Harold's face drained of color. Hammond Banking has significant energy holdings. Precisely, Anna confirmed. I've been trying to meet with you for 3 years to discuss transition strategies. Your gatekeepers prevented that repeatedly. So when Liam's wedding invitation arrived, clearly meant as some sort of power play to showcase his rise in your world. She shrugged elegantly. It provided an unexpected opportunity to bypass those barriers. You came to save my father's bank. Vanessa asked incredulously. I came to offer your father's bank the chance to be on the right side of inevitable change, Anna corrected. The boys are here because they deserve to know their origins. 2 separate missions, converging at a rather unfortunate moment for your wedding plans. As the full implications of Anna's words registered with everyone present, Liam looked up at the 3 boys, his sons, with dawning understanding of exactly what he had walked away from 5 years ago. Not just Anna, not just a relationship, but a future that had taken shape without him, leaving him on the wrong side of history in more ways than one. The cathedral's private anteroom, normally reserved for brides making final preparations, now hosted the most uncomfortable business meeting in Hammond Banking International's century-long history. 78%, Anna said, sliding a tablet across the polished mahogany table toward Harold Hammond. That's your institution's current exposure to non-renewable energy investments. When our Helios battery goes to market next week, that portfolio will begin depreciating at approximately 11% per quarter. Harold studied the projections with a banker's practiced neutrality, though the slight tremor in his hand betrayed his alarm. These figures assume immediate market adoption. They assume rational market behavior. Mark is corrected from his position by the window. The Helios technology reduces energy storage costs by 83% while increasing capacity tenfold. It makes traditional power infrastructure economically obsolete. Across the room, the triplets sat in antique chairs clearly designed for contemplative prayer rather than the fidgeting of 8-year-olds. Yet they remained remarkably composed, occasionally whispering observations to each other while stealing glances at Liam, who stood awkwardly by the door as if contemplating escape. Vanessa had positioned herself as far from her almost husband as the room allowed. her wedding gown pulled around her like the remnants of a discarded dream. Her initial fury had transformed into something more calculated as she listened to the financial discussion with increasing interest. "Daddy," she interjected suddenly, "Miss Phoenix isn't threatening us. She's offering salvation." She turned to Anna with newfound respect. "You could have shorted our stock and made millions when your announcement tanks the market. Instead, you're here offering advance warning." Anna nodded, pleased by Vanessa's quick understanding. "Precisely. Economic disruption is inevitable, but unnecessary casualties are not. Hammond Banking has the liquidity and influence to pivot quickly if you start immediately." "Why?" Harold asked bluntly. "Why warn us when you could destroy us?" Anna's gaze drifted to the boys. "Because destruction rarely benefits anyone in the long term, even when it might feel justified." The subtext wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Liam shifted uncomfortably, finally finding the courage to approach the triplets. "May I?" he asked Anna, gesturing to an empty chair beside the boys. She hesitated before nodding. "It's their choice whether to engage with you." Liam sat carefully, as if approaching wild creatures that might bolt. "I'm Liam," he said softly, "but I guess you already know that. We've studied you." Evan replied matter-of-factly. "Mother keeps comprehensive files on significant industry figures." "Including me?" Liam asked, surprised to be considered significant in Anna's world. Elliot, always the most diplomatic, shook his head. "You're in the personal archives, not the business ones." The casual revelation that Anna had maintained records on him, had perhaps followed his career despite his abandonment, sent an unexpected warmth through Liam's chest. "What else do you know about me?" "Your investment strategies favor short-term gains over long-term stability," Ethan observed clinically. "You prioritize appearance over substance in both business and personal presentation. And you have approximately $347,000 in personal debt hidden from your fiancé through 3 shell corporations." Liam blanched. "How could you possibly know that?" "We created an algorithm that analyzes purchasing patterns against reported income," Evan explained with a shrug. "It's just math." From across the room, Vanessa's attention snapped toward them. "What debt?" Before Liam could respond, the wedding planner burst into the room, her professional composure finally cracking. "The guests are becoming restless. What should I tell them? Are we proceeding with the ceremony or not?" The question hung in the air, forcing an immediate decision that no one seemed prepared to make. "Perhaps," Anna suggested smoothly, "Mr. Hammond and I should continue our discussion while others resolve their more personal matters." She nodded toward Vanessa and Liam. "Marcus can take the boys to get ice cream. I understand there's a parlor across from the park." "Ice cream isn't nutritionally optimal before dinner," Ethan protested. Marcus placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "Sometimes, Ethan, social optimization takes precedence over nutritional optimization." As Marcus ushered the triplets toward the door, Elliot paused beside Liam. "Are you coming with us?" he asked, the innocent question loaded with implications that transcended the immediate moment. Liam glanced desperately between the boy and Vanessa, trapped between his collapsing present and a past he discarded. "He needs to address the guests first." Anna intervened smoothly, sparing Liam from immediately choosing. "Perhaps another time." As the door closed behind Marcus and the boys, Harold Hammond cleared his throat. "I'll need to speak with my executive team immediately. Vanessa, perhaps you could address the guests while I make some calls." "And say what exactly?" Vanessa demanded, gesturing at her wedding gown. "Sorry for the inconvenience, but the groom has surprised children and secret debt. The truth has a way of surfacing at inconvenient moments," Anna observed, gathering her documents. "But I found it's rarely as catastrophic as the fear that precedes it." Something in her tone made Liam look up sharply. "There's more, isn't there? Something else you haven't revealed yet." Anna met his gaze directly for the first time since her arrival. "There's always more, Liam. That was something you never understood about me." The weighted statement hung between them as Anna turned to follow Harold Hammond, who was already making urgent phone calls in the corner. Left alone with Vanessa for the first time since the ceremony's collapse, Liam approached his almost bride cautiously. "Vanessa, I can explain the debt. It was for investments that—" "Stop," she interrupted, raising one manicured hand. "Just stop." She studied him with new eyes, not angry, but disappointingly clear. 5 years ago, You left Anna because you saw a better opportunity in me and my family's connections. That's not, it is. We both know it is. Vanessa smoothed her gown absently. The question now is whether you're going to make the same mistake twice. Liam blinked, confused. What do you mean? Those boys out there, your sons, represent a future that might eclipse anything my father's bank could offer you. She gave a small, sad smile. Especially once Phoenix Enterprises revolutionizes the energy sector next week. Understanding dawned slowly on Liam's face. You think I should choose them over you? Over us? I think, Vanessa replied with unexpected wisdom, that you need to recognize a valuable investment when you see one. She moved toward the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. I'll tell the guests the wedding is postponed indefinitely. Will you tell those boys when they return with their ice cream? That's entirely your decision. As Vanessa departed, Liam remained alone in the anteroom, surrounded by the wreckage of his carefully constructed plans. Through the window, he could see Marcus and the triplets in the park across the street, the boys animatedly describing something while Marcus listened with genuine interest. For the first time in his adult life, Liam faced a decision that couldn't be calculated in terms of financial benefit or social advancement. As he watched his sons, these brilliant, perceptive children he'd had no part in raising, a strange new emotion took root alongside his ambition. Regret, yes, but also unexpectedly hope. What choice will Liam make when the boys return? What final revelation does Anna still hold that could change everything? Comment your predictions below and subscribe if you are new to this channel. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the cathedral gardens as Liam paced along the gravel path, church bells tolling the hour that should have marked the beginning of his reception. Instead, bewildered guests were departing in confused clusters, whispering behind raised hands about the ceremony's dramatic collapse. Harold Hammond had disappeared with his executive team, already strategizing how to pivot Hammond Banking's massive portfolio before Phoenix Enterprises' announcement devastated the market. Vanessa had retreated to the bridal suite, surrounded by bridesmaids who shot venomous glares at Liam whenever he passed. He had become the villain in every version of today's story. The man with secret children and hidden debt, the groom whose past had destroyed a society wedding. Yet strangely, for the first time in years, Liam felt something close to authentic as the carefully constructed facade of his life crumbled around him. They're exceptional children, Anna's voice startled him as she approached along the garden path. You should be proud of the genetic contribution, if nothing else. Liam turned, taking in the woman who had once been his future before he'd discarded her for what he believed was a better investment. How did you do it? Raise triplets while building an empire. One day at a time, she replied simply, with help from people who believed in both me and them. Like Marcus, Liam observed, unable to keep the edge from his voice. He seems very involved with your family. Anna's slight smile acknowledged the unasked question. Marcus found me 3 weeks after you left. I was working out of our old apartment, living on ramen, morning sickness making it nearly impossible to function. A venture capital firm had forwarded my research paper on molecular energy storage to him. She paused, the memory still vivid. He knocked on the door, introduced himself as Marcus DeVoe of DeVoe Technologies, and said he wanted to invest in my work. When I nearly fainted from exhaustion, he noticed the prenatal vitamins on the counter. The next day, he returned with a team of lawyers, a contract offering full funding with remarkably favorable terms, and a real estate agent with listings for proper lab facilities. Just like that, Liam asked skeptically, a billionaire investor appears at your lowest moment and offers salvation with no strings attached. There were strings, Anna corrected. Rigorous development timelines, quarterly progress reviews, strict intellectual property protections. Marcus is a businessman, not a fairy godfather. But he saw potential where others, she fixed Liam with a pointed look, saw only risk and limitation. Across the street, the triplets were visible in the park, testing the aerodynamics of paper airplanes folded for what appeared to be church programs, while Marcus timed their flights with scientific precision. He loves them, Liam observed quietly. Yes, Anna agreed. As his godchildren, as brilliant minds he's helped nurture. As my family. The emphasis on the final word wasn't lost on Liam. But not as their father. Marcus and I are partners in every sense except that one, Anna clarified. Our relationship evolved over years of mutual respect and shared purpose. Unlike some connections, it wasn't based on calculating the highest return on emotional investment. The barb struck its target. Liam winced but pressed on. The boys, do they know about me? About why I wasn't in their lives? They know you chose a different path before learning of their existence. Anna replied carefully. I've never demonized you, Liam. That would only damage them. But I haven't sugarcoated the reality either. Before Liam could respond, his phone buzzed with an incoming message. Then another, and another, in rapid succession. Frowning, he glanced at the screen, his confusion deepening as he saw dozens of notifications from financial news sources and investment platforms. What the? He began, opening the first alert. Breaking. Hammond Banking International announces. Strategic partnership with Phoenix Enterprises. That's impossible, Liam muttered, scanning the release. Harold just learned about your technology an hour ago. Anna's expression remained neutral as she produced her own phone, displaying what appeared to be a formal agreement with Harold Hammond's signature time-stamped just minutes earlier. Apparently, Mr. Hammond is more adaptable than you gave him credit for, she observed. When presented with extinction or evolution, intelligent entities choose evolution. Understanding dawned slowly on Liam's face. He's cutting a deal to save his bank. He's securing exclusive financing rights for the global deployment of Helios technology, Anna corrected, in exchange for Phoenix taking a controlling interest in Hammond Banking's energy investment division. The magnitude of the arrangement, negotiated in minutes while Liam had been wallowing in personal crisis, was staggering. Harold Hammond, legendary for his ruthless protection of his financial empire, had just surrendered significant control to preserve his institution's future. This wasn't a warning visit, Liam realized aloud. This was a corporate takeover disguised as a courtesy call. Business and personal matters occasionally overlap, Anna acknowledged. Much like they did 5 years ago, when you determined I was a poor investment compared to Vanessa Hammond. As the implications fully registered, Liam's phone rang, Vanessa calling. He answered automatically, his world still tilting on its axis. Did you know? Her voice demanded without preamble. Did you know she was coming to acquire our bank? Vanessa, I had no idea she was, because Daddy just made me director of the Joint Transition Committee, Vanessa continued, her tone shifting from accusation to excitement. Alexander Phoenix personally requested me based on my Harvard business case studies on sustainable finance. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Liam stared at Anna in disbelief as Vanessa continued outlining the remarkable career advancement she'd secured from the ashes of her failed wedding. I have to go, he finally interrupted. We'll talk later. As he ended the call, the full picture came into devastating focus. Within hours, Anna had not only revealed his secret children in debt, effectively ending his engagement, but had also orchestrated a business arrangement that elevated his almost bride while excluding him entirely. You've thought of everything, he said quietly, except where I fit into any of this. That's where you're wrong, Anna replied, her expression softening slightly. I have one more proposal to discuss. But first, there's something you should know about Marcus. She nodded toward the park where Marcus was now helping Ethan adjust the wings on a particularly complex paper airplane. Before he became my business partner and the boy's godfather, Marcus DeVoe was known by another name, one that might be familiar to you. Liam frowned, studying the silver-haired man more carefully. Marcus is my father, Liam, Anna said quietly. The father who disappeared from my life when I was 7, who reinvented himself after losing everything, who spent 20 years building a technology empire before finding me again, just weeks after you left. The revelation landed like a physical blow. Your father? But you told me your father abandoned your family, that you grew up in foster care. All true, Anna confirmed. Marcus and I reconnected as adults, initially as investor and innovator. The DNA test confirming our relationship came later, after he'd already committed to funding my work and supporting the triplets. Her gaze remained steady. He knows exactly what it means to miss a child's entire childhood due to poor choices, which is why he's allowing you a chance he never had. What chance? Liam asked, suddenly understanding he stood at the most important crossroads of his life. The chance to know your sons, Anna replied simply, but only if you're willing to accept terms that put their well-being first. As if on cue, Marcus and the triplets began walking back toward the cathedral, the boys animatedly discussing something that had Elliot gesturing emphatically while Evan took notes on his phone. "What are your terms?" Liam asked quietly, watching his sons approach. Anna's answer would determine not just his relationship with the children he'd never known, but his entire future in a world where the power dynamics had shifted irrevocably in her favor. "My terms are simple," Anna said, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had become her trademark in boardrooms across 3 continents. "If you want a relationship with the boys, you accept that it will be entirely on their timeline, not yours." Liam watched as Marcus and the triplets approached, the setting sun catching the distinctive hazel eyes, his eyes, in the faces of children who were simultaneously familiar and foreign. "What exactly does that mean?" he asked. "It means no custody battles, no sudden claims of paternal rights, no disrupting their lives to ease your guilt." Anna's tone remained businesslike, as if negotiating a contract. "You begin with supervised visits. If those go well, and the boys wish to continue, we establish a consistent schedule that works around their existing commitments." "And if I wanted more?" Liam pressed. "They're my sons, Anna." Legally, she interrupted. "You abandoned a pregnant woman 5 years ago and made no attempt to determine if there were consequences of that relationship. Any halfway competent family court would take that into consideration." Marcus and the boys had reached the garden gate. Anna raised a hand, silently asking them to wait, giving her and Liam a final moment of privacy. "I'm offering you an opportunity many absent fathers never receive," she continued. "But understand this, those boys are my entire world. Their well-being comes before your desire for instant fatherhood, before any business considerations, before everything." The fierce protectiveness in her voice struck a chord in Liam he hadn't known existed, a primal recognition of a parent defending their young. It made his own sudden desire to know his sons feel hollow by comparison. "I understand," he said quietly. "Do you?" Anna studied him with penetrating assessment. "Because there's a second condition." Liam tensed. "Which is?" "Phoenix Enterprises has a position open for someone with your financial background. Special advisor on portfolio restructuring for institutions transitioning from fossil fuel investments. The offer is legitimate, based on your qualifications, not your connection to the boys." "You're offering me a job?" Liam's disbelief was evident. "After everything?" "I'm offering you purpose," Anna corrected. "A chance to be part of the future instead of clinging to the past. Whether you have a relationship with the boys or not, that offer stands on its own merits." Before Liam could respond, the triplets' patience had evidently run out. They approached with Marcus following at a respectful distance, giving the boys space to navigate this momentous meeting independently. "We calculated the aerodynamic efficiency of different paper airplane designs," Evan announced, apparently deciding this was an appropriate opening conversation with his biological father. "I can send you the data if you're interested." "I would like that," Liam managed, completely unprepared for how to speak with these miniature versions of himself who somehow embodied Anna's brilliance. Elliot, always the most empathetic, seemed to sense Liam's discomfort. "It's okay if airplanes aren't your thing. We have lots of interests." "Like what?" Liam asked, grateful for the conversational lifeline. "Quantum computing, molecular engineering, competitive chess, and lizards," Ethan listed efficiently. "Elliot likes poetry too, but Evan and I think that's suboptimal use of cognitive resources. It develops emotional intelligence," Elliot defended, clearly continuing a long-standing debate. Liam glanced at Anna, who watched the exchange with quiet pride. These remarkable children were her creation, not just biologically, but intellectually and emotionally. The magnitude of what he'd walked away from hit him with fresh force. "Boys," Anna interjected gently. "Mr. Crawford and I were discussing the possibility of you spending more time with him, if that's something you'd be interested in." 3 identical sets of hazel eyes turned to study Liam with unnerving intensity. "Why did you leave our mother?" Ethan asked bluntly. The direct question, which adults would consider tactless but carried the pure curiosity of childhood, left Liam momentarily speechless. "The truth," Elliot added softly. "We're good at detecting falsehoods." Liam looked to Anna for guidance, but her expression remained neutral. This was his challenge to navigate. "I left because I was afraid," he admitted finally. the truth surprising even himself. Not of being a father. I didn't know about you then. I was afraid of failing with your mother. She was so brilliant, so dedicated to changing the world. I was just ambitious. Ambition isn't inherently negative, Evan observed. It depends on its application. Mine was applied selfishly, Liam acknowledged. I saw a quicker path to success through connections with powerful people, and I convinced myself that justified leaving someone who deserved better. The boys exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them that Liam couldn't interpret. Do you know anything about quantum entanglement? Elliot asked suddenly. Liam blinked at the apparent non sequitur. Very little. It's when particles become connected so that the state of one instantly affects the other, no matter the distance between them, Elliot explained. We've been entangled with you without ever meeting you. Your genetic material shapes our existence, even in your absence. What Elliot means, Ethan translated, is that we're curious about you because you're part of us, even though you haven't been present. We need to establish experimental parameters for interaction, Evan added pragmatically. Control variables, measurable outcomes, define time periods. Liam looked to Anna in confusion. They're saying yes to getting to know you, she clarified, a small smile playing at her lips. In their own way, as the significance of this moment settled around them, Liam's phone rang again, Harold Hammond's name flashing on the screen. With an apologetic glance at the boys, he answered. Liam, where are you? Hammond demanded without preamble. We're restructuring the entire executive team in light of the Phoenix partnership. Your position is being reevaluated. The subtext was clear. His future at Hammond Banking, the career he'd sacrificed everything for, hung in the balance. I'm in the cathedral garden, Liam replied, with my sons. The ownership in his voice surprised everyone, including himself. Your presence is required immediately, Hammond continued, unmoved. The transition team is assembling now. Liam looked at the three boys watching him intently, at Anna, whose expression revealed nothing, at Marcus, who stood as a silent reminder of second chances that come too late. No, he said simply. Excuse me? I said no, sir. I have more important matters to attend to right now. As he ended the call, Liam knew he'd just burned the bridge to his carefully constructed future. The darkest hour of his professional life had arrived precisely when a glimmer of personal light had appeared. The question now was whether that light would be enough to guide him through what came next. You just declined a direct summons from Harold Hammond, Marcus observed as Liam pocketed his phone. That's professional suicide in your world. My world seems to be changing rather quickly today, Liam replied, surprising himself with the lack of panic he felt. The career implosion that would have devastated him hours earlier now seemed strangely distant compared to the three boys studying him with analytical curiosity. Are we the reason you're not attending your meeting? Elliot asked, his perception uncomfortably acute for an 8-year-old. Liam considered how to answer, aware that these children deserved honesty, but also required age-appropriate responses. Partly, he admitted, but also because I'm reassessing my priorities. Like a system reboot, Evan nodded sagely. When critical errors are detected, sometimes a complete restart is the most efficient solution. Anna watched this exchange with guarded interest, her arms folded across her chest. The boys and I should be going. It's been an eventful day, and they have school tomorrow. Can Mr. Crawford come to dinner sometime? Elliot asked, surprising everyone. He should see our lab. You have a lab? Liam asked. Mother converted the East Wing into research space for our projects. Ethan explained matter-of-factly. We're working on quantum encryption applications for the Helios battery network. The casual reference to groundbreaking research being conducted by elementary school children momentarily staggered Liam. These weren't just intellectually gifted kids. They were potentially world-changing prodigies. Dinner would need to be scheduled, Anna said carefully, neither rejecting nor embracing the idea. Perhaps next week, after the Helios announcement. As they prepared to leave, Marcus approached Liam, his expression unreadable. Walk with me a moment, he said, gesturing toward the cathedral's rose garden. Once they were out of earshot, Marcus's demeanor shifted subtly. I recognize the look on your face, he said. I wore it myself 20 years ago when I realized what I'd thrown away. The difference being Anna found you again, Liam pointed out. Or you found her. After missing her entire childhood, Marcus countered. After countless birthdays, school plays, skinned knees, and nightmares I wasn't there soothe. His voice remained steady, but the pain beneath it was evident. I built an empire while my daughter grew up in foster homes because her mother couldn't cope alone after I left. Liam absorbed this, seeing new depths to the relationship between Anna and her father. Why are you telling me this? Because you stand at a crossroads I recognize, Marcus replied. Your instinct will be to pursue those boys with the same aggressive ambition you've applied to your career. To attempt some grand gesture that proves your commitment. And that would be wrong. It would be premature, Marcus corrected. Those boys have existed for 8 years without needing anything from you. Their lives are structured, fulfilled, and carefully nurtured. What they don't need is an overeager biological father disrupting that stability to assuage his own guilt. The assessment was harsh but undeniably accurate. Liam had been contemplating exactly such gestures. Financial contributions to their education, exotic trips, expensive gifts, all external symbols that would prove his worth without requiring the harder work of genuine connection. What would you suggest instead? Liam asked, humbled by the older man's insight. Patience, consistency, earning trust through small actions rather than grand declarations. Marcus glanced toward where Anna was helping the boys into the waiting Bugatti. And professional reinvention. Hammond Banking will scapegoat you for today's events. Your career there is effectively over. The blunt assessment should have devastated Liam, but instead, it felt oddly liberating. Anna mentioned a position at Phoenix, which you should consider carefully before accepting, Marcus advised. Working directly with Anna requires separating personal history from professional responsibility. Not everyone can manage that balance. Before Liam could respond, Ethan called out from the car. Mother says we need to optimize our departure timeline to maintain our schedule efficiency. Marcus smiled. Translation, they need to leave now. As they rejoined the group, Anna was checking her watch with the precision that had likely contributed to her extraordinary success. We need to go. The boys' evening routine doesn't accommodate delays well. Structure is essential for optimal cognitive development, Evan informed Liam solemnly. We adhere to carefully calibrated schedules, with room for spontaneity within controlled parameters, Elliot added quickly. We're not robots. The comment, so childlike despite the advanced vocabulary, made Liam laugh genuinely for what felt like the first time in years. I'd like to learn about your schedules, he said, in your lab, and anything else you want to share. The triplets exchanged one of their silent communications before Ethan spoke for the group. We'll prepare a comprehensive orientation document outlining our interests, schedules, and project portfolios. It will facilitate more efficient interaction. I look forward to reading it, Liam replied sincerely. As the boys climbed into the car, Anna lingered briefly. I'll have my assistant send details about the position at Phoenix. Review it carefully before deciding. It's demanding work, completely separate from any personal arrangements regarding the boys. I understand. Liam hesitated, then added, Thank you, Anna, not just for today, but for raising such extraordinary children. They're amazing. You're amazing. Something flickered in Anna's eyes, a softening, perhaps, or a moment of recognition that the man before her had glimpsed the magnitude of his loss. They're extraordinary, she agreed. But they're also just boys who need stability, honesty, and people who put their interests first. Her gaze sharpened. Can you be that person, Liam? Not just today, in the emotional aftermath of discovery, but consistently, when it's inconvenient or difficult. The question hung between them, the essential challenge underlying everything. I don't know, Liam admitted, the honesty costing him more than any professional failure. But I want the chance to find out. Anna studied him for a long moment before nodding once. That's the first answer you've given today that makes me think this might work. She turned toward the car, then paused. Dinner. Thursday at 7. The boys will send you the address. As the Bugatti pulled away, Liam stood alone in the gathering dusk. His wedding day transformed into something entirely unexpected. The first day of a journey toward a family he never knew he had, and a self he had yet to become. Behind him, the cathedral doors closed on the wedding that never was. Before him stretched a future unimaginably different from the one he'd planned, yet somehow containing possibilities far more valuable than anything he'd been willing to sacrifice for ambition alone. For the first time in his adult life, Liam Crawford faced uncertainty without fear. New to this story? Subscribe now to follow Anna and Liam's journey as they navigate co-parenting their extraordinary sons. If you're enjoying this tale of redemption and second chances, drop a comment sharing your favorite moments so far. By Thursday evening, Liam's life had undergone a transformation as dramatic as any corporate restructuring he'd ever managed. His office at Hammond Banking had been cleared out by security, his personal belongings delivered to his condo in 3 cardboard boxes. His company car had been remotely disabled in the parking garage, requiring an undignified rideshare home. His corporate credit cards had been canceled, his health insurance terminated, and his professional reputation systematically dismantled through carefully worded leaks to financial publications. The message was clear. Crossing Harold Hammond carried consequences that extended far beyond mere termination. Yet as Liam approached the imposing gates of the address the boys had sent, a stunning modern estate overlooking the city, he felt strangely unburdened. The navigator's luxury GPS announced his arrival at Phoenix Residence, with the same pleasant tone it might use for coffee shop. Approaching Phoenix Residence. You have reached your destination. He'd spent hours preparing for this dinner, not with the power ties and rehearsed pitches of his former life, but with research into quantum computing and children's developmental psychology. His trunk contained carefully chosen gifts for each boy, selected not for their extravagance, but for their thoughtfulness. A security guard approached his window. "Good evening, Mr. Crawford. The family is expecting you." The gates swung open to reveal a property that defied conventional display of wealth. Instead of manicured lawns, native wildflowers, and sustainable gardens stretched in carefully designed ecosystems. The house itself was a masterpiece of renewable architecture, solar glass, living walls, and rainwater collection systems integrated so beautifully they enhanced rather than compromised the design. Anna was waiting on the front steps, dressed casually in jeans and a simple blouse, a striking contrast to her formal appearance at the wedding. "You're precisely on time," she observed as he approached. "That's a promising start." Before Liam could respond, the front door burst open and Evan appeared, tablet in hand. "I've prepared a diagnostic assessment to establish your baseline knowledge in relevant subject areas," he announced without preamble. 35 questions, multidisciplinary, adaptive difficulty. "Evan," Anna gently admonished, "we discussed this. No assessments during dinner. But how will we determine appropriate conversation parameters without data?" Evan protested. "Through organic social interaction," Elliot suggested, appearing beside his brother. "Like normal humans. Normality is a statistical construct with questionable validity." Ethan contributed, joining them. "But I concede dinner provides inadequate temporal parameters for comprehensive assessment." Liam fought back a smile. "I'd be happy to take your assessment another time, Evan. I'm curious how I'd score." The simple acknowledgement of his son's interest seemed to surprise the boy, who blinked rapidly before nodding. "Acceptable compromise. I'll optimize it for weekend completion." Anna ushered them inside to a home that seamlessly blended cutting-edge technology with comfortable warmth. The promised lab was visible through glass walls, a research facility that would make MIT envious, scaled for brilliant children. "We maintain a technologically advanced but screen-limited environment," Anna explained, catching Liam's amazed expression. "The boys do their research in controlled time blocks, balanced with physical activity, creative pursuits, and social development. Mother insists on outdoor time regardless of optimal productivity windows," Ethan informed Liam with mild disapproval. "And we must participate in at least one team sport despite the statistical inefficiency of depending on peers. I play soccer," Elliot volunteered. "Evan does competitive swimming, and Ethan runs cross-country. I analyze race efficiency algorithms while running," Ethan clarified. "It's dual purpose." Dinner was served in a sun-filled room overlooking the city lights. The meal itself prepared by a chef who, Anna explained, specialized in nutritionally optimized cuisine that appealed to children's palates while expanding their culinary horizons. As they ate, Liam found himself subjected to the most extraordinary interview of his life. 3 brilliant minds dissecting his experiences, beliefs, and knowledge with unflinching directness. "Why does financial success matter to adults?" Elliot asked, genuinely curious. Mother says money is a tool, not an objective. Many people confuse the scoreboard with the game. Liam answered carefully. I did, for a long time. And now? Anna prompted. Now I'm learning there are more important metrics. The conversation flowed with surprising ease, the boys gradually relaxing their formal assessment into more natural curiosity. When Ethan mentioned a complex engineering challenge in his latest project, Liam offered a financial perspective that made the boy tilt his head thoughtfully. That's not entirely invalid reasoning. Ethan conceded, the highest praise he seemed capable of offering. After dinner, the boys led Liam to their lab, proudly demonstrating projects that staggered him with their complexity and potential impact. A quantum encryption system, a neural network for predicting climate variations, a miniaturized version of the Helios battery that powered their entire workspace. These are world-changing innovations, Liam said quietly to Anna as they watched the boys argue good-naturedly about a technical specification. Their children first, she reminded him. Brilliant, yes, but still developing emotionally. That's why stability matters more than any intellectual achievement. As the evening drew to a close, Liam presented his gifts, specialized chess sets with unique theoretical challenges for Ethan, rare geological specimens for Evan, and for Elliot, first editions of poetry that had belonged to Liam's grandmother. The boys accepted with cautious pleasure, their analytical minds clearly cataloging this data point in their ongoing assessment of their biological father. As they said goodnight, Elliot hung back while his brothers raced upstairs to incorporate their gifts into their collections. Are you going to work with Mother at Phoenix Enterprises? He asked directly. I'm considering it, Liam answered honestly. It's complicated. Elliot nodded with unexpected understanding. Because of quantum entanglement. I am sorry. Once particles interact, they remain connected regardless of distance, Elliot explained. You and Mother have history that affects current decisions, even though you've been separated. But entanglement isn't always problematic. Sometimes it creates possibilities that wouldn't exist otherwise. With that profound observation, he disappeared upstairs, leaving Liam alone with Anna in the foyer. They're warming to you, she observed. More quickly than I expected. They're extraordinary, Liam replied. Not just their intelligence, but who they are as people. You've done an amazing job, Anna. We should discuss the position at Phoenix, she said, transitioning to business. Hammond Banking has launched a surprisingly aggressive campaign against you. You'll find conventional financial sector employment challenging for the foreseeable future. Liam nodded, having expected as much. I've been reviewing your proposal. The work aligns with my experience, though the ethical framework is more rigorous than I'm accustomed to. That's rather the point, Anna replied with the ghost of a smile. As they stood at the threshold between his past and a possible future, Liam recognized the moment for what it was, not just a job offer or permission to know his sons, but a chance at redemption he'd done nothing to deserve. I want to accept, he said finally, both the position and whatever role you'll allow me in the boys' lives. But I need to earn it, not just receive it because of biological connection or professional convenience. Anna studied him with the penetrating assessment that had likely dismantled countless boardroom opponents. Then, surprisingly, she smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her features. That, she said simply, is the right answer. As Liam drove away from the Phoenix residence, the city lights spread before him like possibilities. His navigator's GPS recalculating a route he hadn't programmed, but somehow had been seeking all along. New to this remarkable journey? Subscribe now to follow the story of how one man's greatest mistake led to his most meaningful redemption. If you're enjoying this tale of second chances, drop a comment sharing what resonates with you most. 1 year later, the Phoenix Enterprises annual gala transformed the city's botanical gardens into a showcase of sustainable luxury. Solar-powered lighting illuminating living sculptures, biodegradable champagne flutes made from compressed apple fiber, and hors d'oeuvres featuring ingredients from vertical farms funded by the Phoenix Foundation. From his position near the quantum encryption demonstration, Liam watched with quiet pride as the triplets explained their latest innovation to wide-eyed university professors and tech investors. At 9 years old, they commanded respect not through their connection to the Phoenix Empire, but through their own remarkable minds. They've grown 2 inches since the wedding that wasn't, observed a familiar voice as Vanessa Hammond approached, elegant in her role as Phoenix's director of sustainable finance. "Elliot's starting to look just like you." In appearance only, thankfully, Liam replied with the self-deprecating humor he'd developed over months of therapy. They got their character from their mother. Across the room, Anna was deep in conversation with international energy ministers. Her reputation, now legendary after the Helios battery, had disrupted global markets exactly as predicted. When she caught Liam's eye, a small private smile passed between them. Not romance rekindled, but something perhaps more valuable: mutual respect forged through co-parenting their extraordinary sons. Hammond Banking's transition portfolio is outperforming projections by 17%, Vanessa noted, professional pride evident in her voice. Dad still grumbles about the Phoenix partnership, but not when he's reviewing the quarterly returns. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Liam's greatest professional humiliation had ultimately benefited everyone involved. His own role as Phoenix's director of corporate transformation had him traveling worldwide, helping companies navigate the seismic shifts Anna's technology had triggered. "Mr. Crawford?" Ethan approached with uncharacteristic hesitation. "Our presentation concluded with optimal engagement metrics. May we now implement the secondary protocol we discussed?" Liam smiled at the formal phrasing that masked childlike excitement. "Absolutely." The car's waiting. As the boys said their goodbyes to Anna, who nodded approval for their departure, Marcus joined Liam at the periphery of the celebration. "The weekend sailing expedition commences early," the older man commented. Their first overnight trip without their mother. "A calculated risk we've all agreed is developmentally appropriate," Liam replied, echoing the boys' terminology with affectionate amusement. Their relationship, biological father, godfather, and 3 brilliant boys, had evolved into something that defied conventional definition but worked with surprising harmony. The quantum entanglement Elliot had once described had indeed created possibilities none of them could have foreseen. As Liam guided his sons toward the exit, Anna caught his arm briefly. "Remember, safety protocols, sunscreen reapplication schedules, and no theoretical physics after 9 p.m., he finished with a smile. "We'll be fine." Her expression softened. "I know you will." The simple statement, trust earned through a year of consistent presence, promises kept, and boundaries respected, meant more than any corporate accomplishment or financial success. Outside, as stars emerged above the city skyline, Liam helped his sons into the waiting car, their weekend adventure beginning with excited chatter about navigation coordinates and optimal wind patterns. He had lost a wedding but found a family, not the one he'd planned, but precisely the one he needed. New to this journey of redemption and second chances? Subscribe to follow more stories of unexpected transformation. If this tale of finding meaning beyond ambition resonated with you, drop a comment sharing your thoughts.